On this map, you can see the length of the Pulpit Rock hike, a visual overview of the elevation of this hike, and you can see where you start and where the emergency shelter is located. The hike takes about 2 hours each way, that is if you are in average physical condition. When we talk about the start of the hike in this video, we talk about starting from P1. There is also a P2 located a bit lower, it is not too far away from P1. At the start, it is quite steep. The trail is well maintained. At about 1.5 kilometers, you will encounter a steep climb, where you will have to climb big stone steps. At the last part of the hike, it can get extra slippery and there is no shade. It is recommended to take hiking poles with you. There are no safety barriers on the edge of Pulpit Rock, so be careful not to fall from the edge. It is not worth it to fall down whilst posing for a photograph. We had a rainy day when hiking to Pulpit Rock, but still, the views were mesmerizing. When we walked up to Pulpit Rock, we had a clear view with a few clouds, and when we sat there for a while, the clouds were getting thicker and thicker until we had no view left. It was still very much worth it, and weather is not so easy to predict in Norway, especially the weather in the mountains. The best time to do this hike is in peak season, in June, July or August, although you can hike Pulpit Rock year-round. Note that, throughout the year, weather and trail conditions change a lot. Depending on which season you are visiting Pulpit Rock, you should adapt your preparations and the equipment you bring accordingly. In this video, we talk about hiking in peak season. To avoid crowds, we chose to leave at 3:30 p.m. in July. We took equipment to stay overnight. During the way up, we would mostly walk into people that returned from the hike. It was not too busy and we did not have to wait much. During our way up, we took lots of time to take photos, and we needed more breaks than fit hikers, as our fitness was below average. It took us about 4 hours to get to Pulpit Rock, which includes breaks, taking lots of photos and time to look around and filming with a drone in spots where it was allowed. We also carried about 10 kilograms of equipment with us. If we would not have filmed so much on our way up, it would have taken us about 2.5 hours to go up and 2 hours to get down. But it was worth it to take so much time to look around. We suggest you leave late at noon and return before it gets dark, which sets in at about 10:30 p.m. This gives you plenty of time to do the hike and to take some breaks and photos, if you have average fitness. Or even better, stay overnight. On our way back the next morning, it was pretty busy on the trail though, so it was only worth it because Pulpit Rock was mostly empty when we arrived and entirely empty at about 9 p.m. And the camping spot was breathtaking. We have to admit, this hike is hard when your fitness level is below average. Overall, we did well on this hike, although we do both have a strong mindset and we don't give up easily, and we took lots of breaks. If you work out a few times a week and are well equipped, on which we will talk about later in the video, this hike is very doable, and we saw children, dogs and elderly on the trail, making it up to the top. Be well prepared and make sure you are willing to walk lots of steps like on a staircase, but with higher and rougher steps. Take your time, take breaks, drink plenty of water. You can do it. We suggest the following items, but you can decide for yourself what is suitable in your situation. We found hiking boots an absolute necessity, as the trail was slippery and rough at some spots. We took layers of clothing, and we were glad we took a rain suit, as it started to rain on the trail at some point. Take plenty of water. Although there is water in the mountains which you should be able to drink, you do not want to risk taking too little. Hiking poles are probably not for everyone, but we were really glad we took them, as we were not so experienced with hiking in Norway just yet, and we used them to balance ourselves and take some weight of the heavy bags. Take plenty of snacks and make sure you have a proper fitting backpack, preferably with a rain cover. It is not allowed to camp on Pulpit Rock itself, but you will find some proper camping spots near the top. There is a good spot just before you get to the top, which is marked with a faint arrow, and you will have to do a rough climb for it, which seems to be a popular spot as it was already occupied when we got there. It fits one tent. Luckily, there are plenty of spots just before the last part of the trail. Make sure you don't camp too close to the emergency shelter and get off trail a bit for the best spots, We used rocks to secure the tent and put them back where we found them when we cleaned up. Leave no trace. It takes about 40 minutes to drive from Stavanger by car, the nearest city, to the Preikestolen trailhead. You can also travel by public transport or you can book a shuttle. There are two parkings, P1 and P2. We used P2, on which it was allowed to stay overnight when we were there in 2023, and we had to pay 250 NOK in total for 2 days of parking, which is the same price for 1 day. You pay after you return and the system is cashless. On the actual trail, you will find no facilities except for the emergency shelter we spoke about before. At P2, there are toilets. At P1 there are toilets, a restaurant and souvenir shop. Make sure you bring everything you need for the hike or visit the facilities at P1 before you start your adventure if you need a last-minute add-on to your equipment. Make sure you take your litter with you and don't urinate near the emergency shelter or near water sources. Nature is precious, take care of it.